Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a MyLowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe's Rewards because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
Hey everyone, welcome to Real Life, Real Crime Daily. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino.
And we're bringing you crime stories that are current throughout the nation and right in our backyard here in Louisiana.
And we're going to give you our uncensored, unbiased opinions and views.
My opinions tend to be biased, but
I concur.
But today we've got 2 really interesting stories. One from right around the block that hits very personal for my friends about a police car chase gone wrong and 2 beautiful young girls that lost their lives as a result, and a brother that sits in the hospital as we speak. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a Supreme Court ruling about split jury verdicts and how that ruling impacted both the state of Oregon and the state of Louisiana in very different ways as the last 2 states that remain that still had split jury verdicts. So we're anxious to get into both of these stories, and we're going to start talking about what happened here in Baton Rouge.
And of course, our hearts go out to the victims' families and everybody that knew and loved them. This is a tragic story, y'all. And you've been following it. If you haven't, we're going to give you the details on it. It's horrible all the way around.
Yeah, so Maggie Dunn was 17, an 11th grader at Burley High School. Caroline Gill, who was also in the vehicle, was 16. Both of those young ladies were cheerleaders at Burley High, and her brother, Liam Dunn, who was Maggie's brother, was a student at the ULL, which is University of Louisiana at Lafayette. He is still alive, fighting for his life in the ICU. The details are as follows. The police got a call that there was a home invasion in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In pursuit of the individual who was responsible for this home invasion, he Well, he took off speeds up to 110 miles an hour during this chase.
Right. The suspect's name is Tykel Zanders, y'all. And what happened on this day, he's accused of entering a home in the 3200 block of Blackwell Drive on Saturday. And he took the keys to a 2016 Nissan Altima and he stole it. That's according to the book and indictments. And the vehicle belonged to his father, y'all. And it's not like, when you say home invasion, it's not like he broke into a stranger's house. He literally went into his father's house, took the car keys, and took his car. Now, of course, Dad calls it in. The Baton Rouge police, got the bolo or be on the lookout for the vehicle. And they attempted to pull over Zanders on River Road near the Raising Cane River Center, which, if you're from Baton Rouge, y'all know that's downtown Baton Rouge, right across the street from the Mississippi River. And when they attempted to pull him over, Zanders hauled ass, all right? And in doing so, he ran multiple stoplights and reached speeds of over 80 miles an hour on Government Street. And then he got on Interstate 10 and he reached speeds of over 110 miles an hour. And then he drove across the Mississippi River Bridge in the West Baton Rouge. Now, let me tell you about back in the day. I knew I don't think it's this way now. When we got into pursuits that went into West Baton Rouge, the West Baton Rouge Sheriff, Mike Cass, his policy was if they knew a pursuit was coming in to West Baton Rouge, they would block the road off and they literally would shoot the vehicle up. His policy was no pursuit came in his parish, period. They were going to stop it. But on this day, evidently that didn't happen. Zanders crosses in to West Baton Rouge, the Baton Rouge City. They call off the pursuit when they enter in West Baton Rouge, and the authorities and the police in West Baton Rouge started the pursuit. Crosses the bridge and gets off and goes south towards Bruley. There's a small town near Bruley called Addis, and the Addis Police Department also got involved in the pursuit.
Now, Woody, when something like that's happening, is it communicated clearly across to the officers that this is a stolen vehicle from one family member of another? And, because we're talking about a car that's probably worth, I don't know, 10 grand or so, a 2016 right. Altima, and stolen from a family member. I would think this would be a low priority sort right. of item. How does that end up in a 100-mile-per-hour plus chase?
And that's a great question, because I can guarantee you when they called it in, the dad calls in and say, hey, my son just took my keys, right? Now, they're saying it's a home invasion now after the fact. I don't know if that's window dressing, Mike, but I can tell you it's going to go out like that. Be on the lookout for this car. Some officer just happened to see him, attempts to pull him over. Actually, y'all, this would have been, had they not classified as a home invasion under Louisiana law, it would have been what they called an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Not even stealing it, because they can't prove at this point that he intentionally was going to take the car and never return it, right? So basically, it's his son. It's an unauthorized use. And when the sugar turner ship was, when they go to pull him over, this guy's like, fuck it, I'm not stopping. So, and that's when the pursuit starts. But yes, it would have been, you can't outrun the radio, right? So the bolo goes out, officer recognizes the vehicle as a description of the vehicle, attempts to make the stop, the pursuit begins. Now, when pursuits begin, you're supposed to immediately call in your location, like, okay, it's Signal 18 on this Altima, which is I'm attempting to stop this vehicle, traffic stop, Signal 18 police code. I'm doing a Signal 18 on the Altima license plate such at such location, and when he initiates his lights and sirens to pull Zanders over, Zanders says, I'm not stopping, and he takes off. Then you call in immediately your location. I'm now in pursuit, lights and sirens going on, and you're supposed to, over the years, it's morphed. The policy procedures have morphed into the fact that you're going to call it in as you're going every minute or so. You're calling in. Certainly, if they take a turn onto Government Street, we're going to say we're making a right on Government Street. Approximate speed is 80 miles an hour. Traffic, you're supposed to say what the traffic conditions are. Traffic's heavy, traffic's light, the roadway's clear, whatever. And the supervisor is going to be monitoring these calls, and the supervisor determines that it's unsafe. They're supposed to call it in and say, just back off. 1022, the pursuit for a public safety. Okay, 1022 means stop or cancel. Evidently, that didn't happen in this case. And now,
which part didn't happen? The calling in and reporting all that?
Well, I don't know on that. I'm not. I know they call it in, obviously, because they have it that he got on the Government Street and then got on I-10. So they're probably following their procedure, calling in the speeds and everything else. And now, look, he's on the Mississippi River Bridge. He's entering West Baton Rouge. Well, certainly Baton Rouge City would have called West Baton Rouge and said, hey, we got a pursuit coming into your parish. And when he hit 110, I'm assuming that he called it in, and the supervisor was like, hold on. This is basically an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. They call it a home invasion. Even home invasion, he didn't murder anybody. He took his daddy's car, right? And it's 110 miles an hour on the Mississippi River Bridge. Are you shitting me? He's going to kill somebody. Call it off. But West Baton Rouge has already been notified. And then now, when you go into West Baton Rouge, you got Port Allen immediately to your right. If you turn, you go south. You're going through Bruley and Addis and all these small towns. Now, West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office could have got involved, and I'm sure they did at some point. But when they call it in, whoever picked it up and they call in and say, "Oh, he's headed toward Bruley," then boy, these small town cops, and I'm not hating on them, y'all. I worked with them, and for so many years they were my only backup. These small town cops, you better believe they put on that gun belt and that badge every day, and they're praying something like this happens, because otherwise, other than that, they're writing speeding tickets or accidents and stuff like that. This is like, adrenaline junk cops dream of this happening. Yeah, get in pursuit.
So this is what they live for. This is Barney Fife and the biggest thing that happened in Mayberry.
Let me tell you this, and I'm not knocking the small town cops. Okay, I started at a university police department, and you better believe I would love for a pursuit to come through, and so I can get involved in it. Hey, this is real cop shit, right? But generally, and I'm just telling the truth. The small departments like that, I mean, you're talking about probably a 2 to 4 man department. All right, that's all overall shifts. Have one cop, maybe 2 cops on duty at a time, and they know a pursuit's coming. Holy shit! But why are they working probably for minimum wage at a small town department when you could be working? West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office pays a lot better, equipment's a lot better, or state police or Baton Rouge City or whatever. Why are you working there? Because you can't get a job anywhere else, all right? Or you're using that as a stepping stone to get your post certification, and once you get your post certification, other departments will look at you and hire you. So there's a reason these people are working there, and some of them may be old. It's either the young cop that's trying to work his way up or can't get hired anywhere else, or the old cops that go there to retire, right? They've done their time in the city.
Either way, they're gung-ho.
Right. And you better believe that they're listening to the radio. They're praying something's going to happen every day anyway, and here it came.
Is there department by department for these small towns a code of conduct, or is there an overall code of conduct? What rules are supposed to guide?
Unfortunately, there's no set in stone thing. They have guidelines, even national guidelines, but it doesn't mean your apartment has to adopt it. Okay. And like, I know Baton Rouge City, I know the state police, most major departments have these policies strictly on vehicle pursuits where, like I was telling you, where they have to call in location, traffic conditions, whatever, and it's up to supervisors to call it all. You also have to go back again and take into account what crime has been committed, right? If this guy just killed 10 people or set off a bomb and you're chasing him for it, right, and killed 100 people, certainly you're going to give him better pursuit, or you're going to not call it off as quickly. Because of what's happened and people getting killed in the past, every policy and procedure that's ever been written is because somebody screwed something up, right? They're trying to improve or make it safer. The general consensus is that you have to take into account all the factors of what's going on and the seriousness of the crime, the threat to public safety. Even this, okay, if it's a killer, he might keep on killing, right? And so you take all these things into account, and then you have to make your judgment call. The policy procedures, most major departments have what I was telling you about, how you have to call it in, up to supervisor calling it all. But here's the deal. I guarantee Addis Police Department doesn't have that, okay? Because they've never had this kind of pursuit before. They've never had this kind of tragic accident before. So
in the absence of guidelines, or even if there are guidelines, there's still individual judgment that comes into play.
Absolutely.
And the officer is assumed to have agency to make those kinds of decisions based upon those variables. And if the variables are known to the officer in question here in real time, he knows this is a low-level crime that's gone on. Shouldn't we all expect that at minimum anyone's going to make the judgment in that moment that pursuing this suspect for this kind of a crime makes no sense? I mean, how does the judgment get made that it makes sense to chase this guy?
I think this guy's adrenaline kicked in. We're rolling with this. This is what I lived for. This is what I dreamed of. Let's go back to it for a second, though. The state law on officers using their lights and sirens in pursuits, just because you have lights and sirens, it doesn't give you the legal right to blow through a red light, right? You still have to take that in consideration, and one lane's supposed to be clear, et cetera. You have to slow down. Like, you're supposed to almost come to a stop and make sure you don't cause an accident, okay? They didn't do it. And they're blowing through at however many miles an hour it was when this crash occurred. They're blowing through with total disregard for everybody else's life because they're chasing a dude that took his daddy's car keys. Now, here's what should have happened if they were thinking and they had the experience and they hadn't got caught up in the adrenaline of the moment. All you had to do, you got the guy's name, all right? Dad says, my son took the car keys, okay? You should have never got into the 100-mile-an-hour pursuit, even in Baton Rouge. All they had to do is let him go. If he takes off, and yeah, you might want to pursue him a little bit, and he might 20 out or hit a pole or something like that. But when it reaches 80 on Government Street, and you're blowing through red lights, and then goes into West Baton Rouge, and they're blowing through all these intersections, et cetera. Why didn't you just call it off, go get a warrant for Xanders, and get the warrant signed by a judge? And guess what? He may have got away for that day, but he can't outrun that warrant. They will catch up with him later on, which would have been for an unauthorized use if his daddy didn't drop the charges, because he didn't want to see his son go to jail after he's not pissed off anymore. This should never have happened. They could have stopped it, got a warrant, and caught him on another day. They'll dance another day, right? The deal is he's not a mass murderer. He's not a rapist. He didn't kill a kid. His actions ended up this crash. I'm talking about the initial crime, why they were chasing him. I can't even think of a lower crime other than, and I know another pursuit happened, like a shoplifter from the Dollar General store where they got in a high-speed pursuit with him. That's bullshit. For what can you steal from the Dollar General store that would justify you putting average Joe citizens that you're supposed to protect's lives at risk? Is that they should have got a warrant.
So there's no way, even, and I think all three of us here are very appreciative of our police and support them, and
Absolutely.
But it's impossible even for a career law enforcement officer like yourself to look at this as anything but negligent. I mean, this was just pure negligence.
It was. I don't know what they're going to bill him with. They arrested him for, and we'll get into that. But it is pure negligence, period. And now, negligent homicide in Louisiana is defined as when you take a life because your actions were were not that of what a reasonable person's thoughts or actions would be. And that's where the negligence comes in. These guys that were continuing this pursuit for basically an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle weren't thinking at all. They were running on adrenaline. What are you going to do?
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/reallife. That's GOBBLE.com/real-life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
I mean, I could see if it was Osama bin Laden, right? Pursue him. Whatever. This guy took an old Nissan Altima.
From his father.
Right, from his father.
I mean, you talk about senseless.
They say a home invasion. That's, to me, home invasion means you kick in the door with a gun and hold people down and do all this stuff. He didn't do any of this. He entered his father's home and took the keys. His father called it in. My son just came into my house and took my car.
Looking back on this, it's the obvious wrong decision was made by this officer.
That's why they have policy procedures. You call it in, you're in pursuit. You call in the weather conditions. You call in traffic conditions. You call in what rate of speed you're reaching. And that's when common sense, that's why the supervisors make the decision. Especially if they're not in the pursuit, they're not in the heat of the moment, and they say, "Oh, you know what? Call it off. Dude just stole a car. That's all he did." Other than that, the fact when he's reaching speeds of 80 and 100 miles an hour, now that's another felony charge, aggravated flight from an officer.
Yeah,
but still, he's not a harm to anyone. He didn't kill anyone.
That's
he didn't rape anyone. Back to the bank thing. Yeah. They robbed the bank. If you get right on them, and sometimes the pursuit may end in a minute or two, but at the end of the day, if it reaches 110 miles an hour and you're blowing through stoplights, fuck it. That's federal money. It's insured, and let the detectives do their work and find out who it was, or the FBI, or whomever it may be. We know who this suspect was. We know what he did, and that's it. Like now. He's being arrested for. He's been arrested for the running from the police, the stealing the car, and of course his involvement. These children would have never got killed had he not started the action. But the deal being is that had law enforcement stopped the pursuit when he's blowing through stoplights and almost causing accidents already at 100 miles an hour, had they said, "Hey, you know what? Stop it. It's not worth it. It's a stolen car."
Certainly not.
But that officer's decision to continue that pursuit and blow through that intersection and kill those babies, that's on him.
That's on him.
And you know what? I believe fuck him.
I agree. And some beautiful kids. We all have kids. And a lot of us kids that age, and it's about the biggest nightmare you could ever go through. I can only imagine.
All right.
So,
well, let's talk about it from the outside and continuing. Okay, ultimately they end up arresting Zanders because the piece of shit Altima stalls out. I guess he ran it, too hard. Tony Clayton, who is the district attorney for West Baton Rouge and Point Capee, Tony and I have a long and storied history, if you will, but he is a hard ass. He is a tough prosecutor, and if you get murdered, you want him on your case. Now, as recently as the Kim Womack case we did on Real Life, Real Crime, when I did the call to actions for the lifers or my fans, and they blew up, they were melting the DA's phone line or about how this case, Kim Womack's case, wasn't an accidental death or whatever. It was a homicide. Tony called me. I was in my house and phone rang and said, "Tony Clayton." I'm like, "Oh shit." And get on the phone and he was like, "Woody," and he went through the spiel and I gave my spiel back to him. And at the end of the phone call, we agreed. He was like, "Hey, I want to prosecute this case, but I don't have the evidence." Right. But in this case, Tony Clayton came out and he's pissed. He's like, these babies didn't have to die. And this early that Sunday, Tony came out and questioned the decision of BR Baton Rouge City Police Department's decision to pursue Zanders at a high rate of speed over the charge of him taking his father's car. Then began investigating the actions of the Addis police officer that led up to the crash. And he said, if it involves putting human life in danger, stop the damn pursuit. It's just not worth the risk. That's what the DA said initially. He's so pissed off about it. And when he found out more of the facts of the case and how this pursuit went on for so long and such high rates of speeds and almost near accidents ahead of time, he's like, fuck it. He had him arrested, the Addis police officer, and charged. And he said, I'm going to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law.
Your point about the Baton Rouge police. So Baton Rouge police chased him all the way to the Mississippi River Bridge, right? Now, if you don't live here, you don't know this. And I don't live here, but I am up here a lot, and I often travel to basketball tournaments chasing my son everywhere. And that bridge, and this is the middle of a Saturday, is always packed with traffic. It is always
even on Saturdays,
full.
Mike. Yeah.
So just the danger of the first part of the chase coming into that bridge, where if he's traveling at that rate of speed on that bridge at noontime on a Saturday, he's weaving in and out of a ton of vehicles.
At 110 miles an hour. Everybody from Baton Rouge, Government Street, has probably 150 red lights. I mean, it's like every block there's a red light. Even on a Saturday, I can imagine the traffic was bad. But then turn around and getting on the on-ramp and getting on Interstate 10 at 110 miles an hour and crossing the Mississippi River Bridge in West Baton Rouge, they did call it off ultimately. They were like, we got to stop. Not just because now you can go in other jurisdictions, you're in hot pursuit. That's what it's called. But they at some point, some supervisor said, fuck that, call it off. 110 miles an hour on the bridge, somebody's going to die.
And that was on the bridge? That was before they got to the bridge? That was
when he got on the bridge that they called it off. But West Baton Rouge and everybody else was waiting on him. They were chasing him, and as authorities were chasing Zanders through Bruley, y'all, another small town, an Addis police unit crashed into a vehicle near the Bruley Police Department on Louisiana Highway 1 and killed Maggie Dunn and Gill and critically injured Liam Dunn, none of whom were involved in the theft, according to the West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office. Zanders then drove back across the Mississippi River Bridge.
And he's still being chased as he's
now,
going back?
Yeah. The crash has already happened.
Right.
So he's turned around, he's going back, and he goes back across the bridge.
With different officers.
Right.
Now
And now they picked him up again in I
think it was Dalrymple.
Dalrymple exit, which it affects so many lives. I mean, you can read the stuff from the memorial, the funeral, these beautiful young girls are killed, and everybody's outraged, and rightfully so.
Look, we've seen, especially over the last couple of years, a number of situations where officers are put in very, very difficult situations, having to make split-second decisions, and then those decisions are called into question, and then those officers get prosecuted and put away. And many times I find myself, when I put myself in their shoes, thinking, I don't know that I would have done anything differently. I think this is a case that anyone looks at from the outside and says, how could you have done that? How could you have jumped in there and look at what the end result is? We've got an idiot stealing a car, driving recklessly, who's going to get caught no matter what, and somebody making an incredibly irresponsible decision to go chase, and this is how it ends. So it's just
and you know what the Addis officer calls in the crash. My opinion on it is every one of them that were still pursuing this asshole are lucky that they're not the Addis police officer that caused the crash, because any of them could have caused a crash, blowing through stoplights at 100 miles an hour.
So so I misunderstood this. So at the point that the accident happens, he's not the only vehicle in pursuit.
Oh, no.
He joined the pursuit.
Right, he joined the pursuit.
Okay, I thought that the Baton Rouge police pulled away at the bridge. So
when you cross the bridge, you go into West Baton Rouge. He got off evidently at the first exit, Port Allen, and went southbound on Louisiana Highway 1, blowing through everywhere. And there's not that many stoplights, right, Jim? Before you get to Bruley, there's probably two. And at some point down there, he turned around and headed back towards Baton Rouge. And Bruley's in pursuit, Addis is in pursuit, West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office in pursuit. And so the really sad part about it is this Addis police officer wasn't even the first vehicle behind the guy, right? He's back in a line. So they're blowing through. That crash happens. Certainly that would have been called in, but they still pursue. But they don't know the two young ladies, Maggie Dunn and Caroline Gill, are dead, right? It's called a Signal 20. That had to be worked.
Unfortunately, here, I assume they didn't have any airborne assistance of any kind. After living in California for 20 years.
Yeah, that would have been the
when one of these is happening,
thing to do.
You've got 4 news choppers in the air following every step of the way. Everyone's watching it unfold on TV. You know exactly where they're going. They're laying down spike strips. Right. They're and in all my years in LA watching these pursuits, no one ever got away.
Usually when we're on shift, at least 2 out of the 10 vehicles, units, whatever, were equipped with spike strips, right? If you get in pursuit, especially a long pursuit like this, and now I can tell you I never chased a guy for stealing his daddy's car keys. Whatever it was usually something serious. Other units are going to respond, like Addis and Bruley did, right? They're going to get in the pursuit. What they should have done, they know he's coming down Highway 1. They could have blocked off. Now, when you block off to stop a pursuit that's coming, you have to, our policy was you have to leave them a way out so they don't crash into and kill the police cars. So what you would do is block off, and you train on this. You block off enough section just where the bad guy's vehicle can go through. But guess what? But only way you do that is if the unit or one of the units that was armed with spike strips had the spike strips laid out, right? So you come through, and it's going to hit the tires, and it's not. They don't blow the tires immediately. It slowly lets the air out until they're running on rims. And I've been involved in a lot of those. And you can only run so far on your rims before your rims fall off. And then you do what they call a felony stop. I don't know why they didn't do this on any of this. I don't know why.
Well, it sounds like, this guy made a really bad judgment call, and ultimately his vehicle is the one that hit the kids and killed them. There's a lot of responsibility to go around here. There's leadership somewhere here that isn't making some of the decisions you just talked about that could have prevented it. There's the original folks chasing him. There's the once he got him, West Baton Rouge, there's the first car or cars that began chasing him. And so this guy's decision isn't as black and white as I thought it was. He's seeing a chase going on, and he's joining a chase. He's not. He's not initiating it.
Right.
It's sad and tragic.
And certainly they had plenty of time to deploy the tactics like what you're speaking of with the tack strips. They could have. My God, this started in Baton Rouge on the other side of the bridge. So I'm like you. I'm just perplexed as why did that not happen? And I'm sure that, maybe there's a reason. Maybe they just didn't have an officer on duty with them in his trunk. Right. I don't know, but they need to change that, and every officer needs to have them in their trunk.
The longest, I agree, because they're cheap. But the longest pursuit I was ever involved in, I was the one that initiated. Went 59 minutes, and in 59 minutes, he went up around the upper end of Livingston Parish like 3 times. He had a meth lab in his vehicle, right? And he threw out, every time he threw something out the window, he'd call my mile marker. So I charged him with 167 counts of littering on top of everything else. But in that 59 minutes, all the state troopers, all the town police, small town to bigger towns like Walker and Denham. Everybody came in, because we were literally going in a circle, and then they deployed the spike strips for me. Now, when you deploy the spike strips, you throw it out and it's on a string. So when the bad guy's car goes through, you rip it out immediately so I could go through.
There's one thing making the decision that you are going to be the cowboy that jumps in and gets in this 100+ mile an hour chase with a car. There's another thing when you see a vehicle or two other vehicles, police vehicles already in pursuit, where you're going to process that differently than you would process the first situation. Yeah. I'm jumping on board with two other, or one other car, or I don't know how many, which we need. That's part of the facts that we need. But at the point the officer in question makes the decision, what does he know? And he knows that there are other police. So at minimum, there are others who should be held accountable for their actions that just fortunately for them did not directly result in these deaths, but
for the grace of God, it could have been any of them. And I can assure you, listeners, that we'll keep y'all updated on this story on Real Life Real Crime Daily as it develops.
So from Mike Agovino, Woody Overton, I am Jim Chapman of Real Life Real Crime Daily. And remember, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
Peace.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.